Hello YouTube! It's potentially been a while. This might be either the first video I've done in absolute ages, or it might be the second video, possibly even the third, depending on how I actually manage to get videos actually processed and updated and put out and about at the moment. The reason for that is, while I'm still not at the best of health at this point, I've decided I need to try to do something to try to keep myself going a bit more. So I'm trying to get back into doing stuff for YouTube at this point. I've got 3 videos I'm doing at the moment. This one, which is a health update, so I'm basically turning this into a general catch-up at this point. I'm also doing a Let's Read, and I'm also doing a look at the lateral flow test kits that you can get from the UK, because for reasons I'm going to go into, I need to do one. And I might need to do more than one, but hey ho. So, health-wise, what's going on? Well, if you've watched my previous health updates, I have had a flare-up of my Crohn's disease, which happened sometime towards the end of 2019. And I've been going through various different treatments for it since then. Some seem to have worked temporarily, others seem to have not worked at all, and some seem to be slowly coming into play. The latest round of blood and, I hope you're not nauseous, but stool tests kind of came back with a bit of a mixed result. The long and the short of it is, I have a inflammatory marker in my stool sample, of all things. That's incredibly high. A normal inflammatory marker in stool should be under 50. I forget what the proper term is, what the actual measurement is, but it should be under 50. If I can remember, I'll put it up around here. Mine is over 2,200. Yeah, that's not anyway worrying. So that's a bit of a new one. They have looked at stool samples in the past, but not that regularly, so hey ho, hey ho. So what does that mean? Well, it means they want to do a new test. And before going to what that test is going to be, I should also mention that there's been some other tests done, because I started noticing that I was getting quite a lot of pain in my legs, specifically the knee and below. I've been checked out in that regard. I've had x-rays taken, I've had some physiotherapy looked at, I've had an appointment with the rheumatology specialists. And if you're thinking, ooh, rheumatology, isn't that arthritis? Yes, rheumatology is a form of arthritis. I don't have rheumatoid arthritis though. I have osteoarthritis, which is an entirely different kind of arthritis, but it's something that's still within the wheelhouse of the rheumatology specialist. And that basically means that they may need to change my medication to something else that can deal with that kind of arthritis. Thankfully, it's only located in 3 areas. My 2 big toes and 1 of my knees, and it's very, very small amounts at this point. Now, that doesn't mean I'm having trouble walking. It doesn't mean that my knees are aching all the time. It doesn't mean that my feet are sore all the time. It's just, if I've been inactive for a long period of time, if I've been sat down for a long period of time, if I've been lying down for a long period of time, if I've not been moving for a long period of time, then it starts playing up, and it can last about half an hour or longer. Hey ho, hey ho. So, and this is actually tied into the Crohn's disease as well. Osteoarthritis can be triggered in some regards by other conditions such as Crohn's. I'm still learning about it, so I can't really go into much detail right now, but that's the long and the short of it. If we can get the Crohn's under control, that might very well allow me to get the arthritis under control. Although, quite frankly, at this point, it's just the swelling and inflammation and soreness that I get that seems to go away after about half an hour or so, but before that point is just more of an annoyance than anything else. It's not hindering me from doing anything. So it's been a good news, bad news thing. But then they decided to do more tests on my blood and stool, and because of the high inflammation marker in the stool, they decided I should have a colonoscopy. I've never had one of those before. I've had an endoscopy, which is essentially basically the exact opposite of that. I've had a barium meal, and I've had a barium enema. So I'll just go through these one at a time. A barium meal is where you basically get given a couple of cups of this white liquid stuff, which is something called barium, which you have to drink all of, and it coats the inside of your stomach, and they stick you underneath the x-ray machine, and that allows them to x-ray your stomach itself. Sounds good. In my particular case, I've only had one of these once. The particular doctor who was overseeing it decided to put one extra ingredient into his barium meal, namely aniseed, which is something I cannot stand the taste of. So I actually wound up throwing up a lot of the barium simply because I can't stand the stuff. I absolutely hate and I'm absolutely revolted by the stuff. I always have been, even before that point. But this was well over 20 years ago, so this is not something that's happened recently. The barium enema, on the other hand, well, they take you into the x-ray machine. They get you to go just wear one of those gowns that are open at the back. They stick a tube right up your backside, and they pump the barium in. I don't know if they put any aniseed in this particular mix or not, but hey ho, hey ho. Yeah, so it's quite an odd feeling. It kind of feels like you're having diarrhea, but in reverse. And again, this was over 20 years ago. These two procedures were probably done within about a week or so of each other, I think. And the odd thing is the barium meal only coats so much of your stomach and whatnot, and only goes so far. It will eventually leave your system, which means you've got to go off to the toilet and sit on there for a little bit and watch as the world falls out of your backside. But you would kind of think that they would just wait for some of that stuff to settle into the other sections of your stomach so that they could go and x-ray those as well. But no, they wait for you to come back on a separate day and give you the enema, which only goes so far up the system, so it deals with the other half, so to speak, to put things bluntly. Yeah, and then of course you've got to wait for that stuff to come out the system as well, which means another trip to the toilet, and yeah, you paint the town white. A brilliant white in both cases. Hopefully a brilliant white. I think it was definitely a white in my case. An endoscopy, on the other hand, well, that's the fibre optic probes down your throat and down your gullet and so on and so forth. And you think, fibre optics, great, that's small and tiny. No, it's about that much of thickness, you know, that kind of thickness, that kind of width, right down into your gullet. If you've seen Total Recall, the Arnold Schwarzenegger version, when he's trying to get the recall memories put into his head, and he's yeah, that's kind of what it was like for me. They literally put this little guide thing into your mouth that you're not supposed to bite down onto, but I was, and they feed that through, and in you go. Yeah, that was not exactly the most pleasant thing I've ever been through. A colonoscopy, on the other hand, is the fibre optic probes going up the backsy. Yeah. Backsy? Jacksy? So yeah, now what they're looking for in this regard is basically a reason why the inflammation markers are so high in the stool samples. This could be because of the Crohn's, or it could be because of something else. So at this point I'm kind of terrified of what the results might be. I've not had any reason to think it could be something other than the Crohn's, but there's always a possibility, so hey ho, hey ho. So that is basically it. I'm still getting a lot of tiredness, I'm still getting a lot of fatigue, I'm still getting trips to the toilet to relieve myself. I'm still getting situations where I'm just not able to concentrate on what I'm doing. Now this comes in peaks and troughs throughout the day. I'm relatively okay at the moment, but I just don't know where things are going to go, which of course is worrying. Which is one reason why I'm doing, or trying to do, YouTube stuff again. So that is basically it. That is the health update, and it's frankly a bit of a bummer. But hey ho, where there's life, there's hope. Whatever the results may be, I want to keep fighting this thing. Whatever it is I might be looking at next, even if it's the same thing or something new, some new challenge, like the arthritis. I'm going to keep going. And on that note, I'll say bye-bye.